Now this is crazy. Why was the Book of Enoch removed from the Bible?
This is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils. And that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings.
Trouble looms as the Vatican has just sealed the fate of the Book of Enoch, an ancient book, after AI reveals what was written in it. These sacred scrolls made waves on the Joe Rogan Experience as their pages were packed with shocking tales of fallen angels, giants, forbidden knowledge, and visions of the apocalypse. Why is the Vatican trying to destroy it? And what secrets did AI uncover when analyzing its true meaning? Join us as we reveal the terrifying knowledge in the Book of Enoch and why the Catholic Church shut it down. The Grand Unveiling. On January 7th, 2025, Joe Rogan invited the famous Canadian Christian apologist and biblical scholar Wesley Huff for what would become one of the most controversial interviews of the year as they deep dived into the mysterious Dead Sea Scrolls. Wesley believes the mystery Jewish sect, the Essenes, wrote the scrolls. While most were written in ancient Hebrew, some fragments were written in Aramaic, Greek, and even Nabatean. No results were obtained even after decades of research and the use of advanced AI tools. The scrolls' texts were deliberately encrypted in a language that even scholars can't fully decode. The translated pieces have caught the Vatican's attention because they contradict modern theological teachings and speak of prophecies never meant to be revealed. It turns out that these are not just any other ancient relics, but manuscripts that hold truths the world is not ready for. So, what is the origin of this lost book? What are in it pages? The Dead Sea Scrolls. Back in 1947, some Bedouin teenagers were herding their goats near Qumran, along the northwest shore of the Dead Sea, when one of them threw a rock into a cliff and heard the sound of something breaking. Curious and startled, they entered the cave and were shocked by what they found. Inside were big clay jars filled with ancient leather and papyrus scrolls. The boys took a few scrolls back to their camp and showed them to their families. For a while, the Bedouins contemplated what to do with the scrolls. Eventually, they sold some of the scrolls and revealed the cave's location to a local antiquities dealer. The scrolls were sold to several people and had several owners, before finally making their way to John C. Trevor of the American Schools of Oriental Research. On seeing them, he immediately knew that they were no ordinary manuscripts, so he started comparing them to the Nash Papyrus, the oldest known Hebrew biblical manuscript at the time, and to his surprise, there were striking similarities. Once news of John's findings spread, archaeologists began exploring the cave and uncovered more scroll fragments in 10 nearby caves. Altogether, they found between 800 and 900 manuscripts. Among the manuscripts is the Book of Enoch, which has 5 books: the Book of Watches, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch. Surprisingly, these scrolls, especially the Book of Enoch, were not lost in time or through discoveries. Various Aramaic fragments found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and Koine Greek and Latin fragments were well known by the Jews and early Near Eastern Christians. Some 1st and 2nd century authors have quoted the scrolls, as in the testaments of the 12 patriarchs. The authors of the New Testament were also familiar with some of the scrolls' content. The Book of Enoch is part of the biblical canon used by the Ethiopian Jewish community, Beta Israel, and the Christian Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Other Jewish and Christian groups generally regard it as non-canonical or non-inspired, but may accept it as having some historical or theological interest. According to scholars, several writers and church fathers have translated and interpreted this mysterious book. This has caused a major conflict of interest regarding whether or not it should be recognized as part of the Bible and studied by Christians and other believers. During translation, it was found that the writings strayed from the usual Orthodox practice and belief, despite their claimed inspiration being derived from the Holy Spirit. Some have dismissed this work as unworthy of further study. Another argument was that the book confused the faith and practice of biblical principles, because its vivid use of imagery and symbolism might make it easily misinterpreted. Despite these reservations, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church made great strides toward preserving the manuscripts and translating them into English for a complete Ethiopian Orthodox Bible. However, the Book of Enoch was lost after the church's elders banned it in the 2nd century. It wasn't until 1773 that James Bruce discovered the manuscripts of the book and revealed the influence of the Second Temple of Judaism on the origins of Christianity and how it transformed during the Middle Ages. In 1821, Richard Lawrence began translating one of the manuscripts found by Bruce. The book was then categorized into the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Dreams, the Astronomical Book, and the Epistle. Some manuscripts were also studied and classified as anthropology pieces, known as the Book of Parables. The discovery of these manuscripts has sparked an uproar among European scholars and Christians of the Ethiopian version. R.H. Charles published the translated version in 1906 and has since been recognized as the book's most complete and accurate version. Not only is there a simplified translation, but there is also an in-depth, well-written description of the book's background, commentaries, and significance. It was categorized into an introduction, The Last Day, the Book of Courses of Heavenly Luminaries, the History of the Children of Israel, and the 10 Periods. During translation, Charles divided the book into several sections to easily tackle each segment of the terms they represent, such as cosmology, theology, and ancient history. Since its release, several editions have been rewritten, and then modern versions have been simplified or explained. It is re-randomized as the most crucial apocalyptic text dating back to the Second Temple. It was also stated that if it had been widespread in the Protestant Bible, it would have been in the order of the Old Testament Apocrypha, where it would belong, and the New Testament. We must go back to the beginning to truly understand why this book stirred so much debate and reverence. Who exactly was Enoch, and why was the book named after him? Enoch Unfiltered. Enoch is one of the most famous yet mysterious people in the Bible. He was the first person in the Bible not to have passed away, and there has been much speculation about what happened to him for a long time because, unlike Elijah's story, there is no record of how he escaped death. His story in the Bible is one of the shortest, which is odd. The only thing we know about him is the fact that he served God without expecting anything in return, and that God took him away instead of allowing him to die naturally. Although the scriptures do not reveal much about his story, they constantly reference the kind of life he led. In Genesis chapter 5, verses 18 to 24, it's written that he was born to Jared in the ancient Fertile Crescent. At 162, he fathered Methuselah, and by the time he turned 365, he was no more. Jude 14-15 tells us that Enoch was a preacher of goodness and a prophet. He was not silent about the sin around him. Instead, he boldly prophesied about God's judgment against those who do evil. His ministry paved the way for Noah, who continued the proclamation of righteousness and the construction of the ark. The Bible tells all about Enoch. However, the controversial Book of Enoch shows more of him. The Legend of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch, it is revealed that he did not just ascend to heaven once, but did so over a period. In chapter 64, it is written that when Enoch was about to ascend to heaven, he gathered people and instructed them on walking in God's path, in faithfulness, humility, truth, and hope, among other things. It was recorded that over 2,000 people had watched him ascend to heaven. In another account of Enoch's ascension to the heavens, he did so after prophesying about the great flood, during which he and his brothers constructed an altar to worship and sacrifice to God. During the sacrifice, it was stated that Enoch ascended and sacrificed in the face of the Lord. Following this action, the altar shook, and a knife entered his hands. His son Methuselah and all of the Old Testament prophets continued this practice. Years after the death of Methuselah, his son had a terrifying vision of a flood caused by God. At the same time, His son's wife, Sapim, became pregnant without intercourse in her old age, the same way Mary, the mother of Jesus, did. However, while she was accused of wrongdoing and pleading with her husband, Niara passed at his feet. Strangely, the child that she was carrying did not die with her, and years after she had been buried, her son was discovered fully clothed and grown close to her grave. According to the Book of Enoch, this child looked angelic and became the symbol of God renewing their priesthood bloodline. The child was named Melchizedek. After 40 days with his father, the angel Michael took him to heaven, following God's instructions. God then referred to Melchizedek as his child and requested that he be taken to heaven. His earthly father, Niara, grieved by his loss, passed on without procreating any profits for the world. Niara's death triggered the vision of the flood of doom for Methuselah. There was no preacher to set the people on God's way, and building the ark became inevitable. After a prolonged study of Enoch's life, scholars and religious leaders realized that the Book of Enoch might hold secrets beyond what we initially thought. As a pre-flood prophet, and one of the first ever, Enoch contributed much more than being a man who worshipped God. He developed the art of writing, the first language, and then the first person to document his ideas. Several scrolls yet to be translated are suspected of giving insight into other events during Enoch's lifetime. They have been traced back to the period when Enoch existed, leading several scholars to think that he was indeed the author of the Book of Enoch. The book's contents are hard to comprehend. From Enoch's multiple ascensions to a direct replica of his birth thousands of years before his time, the Book of Enoch is controversial, but the account of life in this book is just the tip of the iceberg. The unholy union. The Book of Enoch has it that angels revolted against God, leading to their eviction from heaven. However, when they found their way to earth, they did unspeakable things that would affect humanity for years. When these angels came down to earth, they looked upon the daughters of men and thought them beautiful, but it didn't stop at admiration. They went on to take wives for themselves and make babies with these lovely women of earth. As a result of the unholy relationships between fallen angels and earthly women and the result of such ungodly unions, Enoch writes of the 3 parables shown to him in his second book. The third book mainly revolves around astrology and the cosmic universe. The fourth book is about his visions of impending doom and how they were set 52 years apart. The final book was based on his epistle. He shared his visions with his brothers afterwards and preached repentance to them. A special portion of the book is dedicated to his son Methuselah, guiding him to keep godly ways throughout his lifetime. In chapter 7 of Enoch's book, he identified angels still in their glory and fallen angels who began to cause havoc and widespread sin on earth. He referred to them as good and bad watchers. He stated that the rebellious watchers turned from God's path to follow their prince, identified as Satan. The book also mentions imprisoned angels bowing to Enoch and archangels transporting him through the heavens. In chapter 6, like Genesis, he wrote of fallen angels joining beautiful women born of men and taking them as wives. You wouldn't expect a child from an angel and a human to be normal, right? The offspring of this population resulted in abnormalities such as giants and strong children, known as Nephilim. According to the book, the fallen angels also taught them sorcery and dark practices. A notable figure among these fallen beings is a term in Aramaic associated with demonic entities resembling satanic goat-like creatures. This concept mirrors the scapegoat ritual in Jewish tradition, where a goat is symbolically burdened with the Israelites' sins and set free to fall from a mountain during the Day of Atonement. This ritual symbolizes both divine forgiveness and the Israelites' repentance. Some fallen angels in 1st Enoch have other names, such as Ramiel, meaning morning of God, who becomes Azazel and is also called Gadriel, meaning wall of God, in chapter 68. Azaz, as in Azazel, means strength, so the name Azazel can refer to the strength of God. But the sense it is used most probably means impudent, which results in arrogant to God. This is also a key point in modern thought. Azazel is Satan. Also crucial in this identification is that the original name Ramiel is very similar to the word Lucifer, meaning morning star, a common Latin name for Satan in Christianity. Nathaniel Schmidt states that the angels' names refer to their condition and functions before the fall, and lists the likely meanings of the angels' names in the Book of Enoch, noting that most of them are Aramaic. The suffix El means God, and is used in the names of high-ranking angels. The archangels' names include El, such as Uriel, the flame of God, and Michael, who is like God. Gadriel, meaning wall of God, is listed as one of the chiefs of the fallen watchers. He is said to have been responsible for deceiving Eve. Schmidt lists the name as meaning the helper of God. Besides fallen angels, the mysterious Book of Enoch revealed many unknown things that shake the foundation of our beliefs concerning the universe we live in. The untold truth about the celestial. 4 fragmentary editions of the astronomical book, 4Q211, were found at Qumran in the Book of Enoch. 4Q208 and 4Q209 have been dated to the beginning of the 2nd century BC, providing a terminus for the astronomical book of the 3rd century BCE. The fragments found in Qumran also include material not contained in the later versions of the Book of Enoch. This book describes the movement of heavenly bodies and the sky, knowledge revealed to Enoch in his trips to heaven, guided by Uriel. It also represents a solar calendar later described in the Book of Jubilees, which the Dead Sea sect used. The use of this calendar made it impossible to celebrate the festivals simultaneously with the Temple of Jerusalem. According to Enoch, the year consisted of 364 days, divided into 4 equal seasons of 91 days each. Each season consisted of 3 equal months of 30 days, plus an extra day at the end of the 3rd month. Thus, the whole year consisted of exactly 52 weeks, and every calendar day occurred on the same day of the week. Each year and each season always started on Wednesday, the 4th day of the creation narrated in Genesis, the day when the lights in the sky, the seasons, the days, and the years were created. It is unknown how they used to reconcile this calendar with the tropical year of 365.24 days, and it is not even sure if they felt the need to adjust it. Enoch delineates a cosmic map known as the heavenly circle or celestial orbit, resembling the curvature observed in the solar system's trajectory. According to Enoch, the uppermost circle is known as the 2nd, Aphrodite, and the 3rd is Eris. The 5th circle is known as Zeus, the 6th is Hermes, and the 7th is the lower circle where the moon is. The shocking thing is that these are the names of Roman gods, and when interpreted in Greek, they translate to Saturn, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury. Accordingly, in 2nd Enoch, these planets are described as great lights in a heavenly circle. Celestial space also has a focal point that distinguishes it into 3 dimensions. It is called SOA, and the dimensions are known as perceived space, which has a physical presence with geography design, measurements, and configuration. The conceived space is the 2nd, and it is abstract. The concept is highly influenced by mental ability. The last space has a location that can affect all 3 spaces. It is interwoven with history, society, and humanity. Enoch embarked on all 3 journeys, detailed his experience with vivid and accurate knowledge of cosmology, and stated God as the binding force that links all creatures in heaven or on earth. Jesus often referred to himself as the Son of Man, but the Book of Enoch has a different interpretation. The Son of Man. Jesus Christ frequently uses this phrase in the New Testament and is commonly interpreted as a title of Jesus Christ, associating himself with humanity. However, this is different in the Book of Enoch. it was revealed that Enoch had used the term, solidifying that a more profound meaning can be traced to Aramaic, Hebrew, and apocalyptic literature. The Aramaic term, son of man, refers to all human beings, but it is specifically applied to a group of people, particularly those who refer to themselves as such. In the Hebrew version, the prophet Ezekiel used son of man to reference himself when God addressed him. He also meant that, unlike angels and other beings, he was born of a woman and bears the traits common to being human. The Hebrew meaning is also linked to Jesus Christ, likening himself to being of flesh and bones and enduring the suffering of death. According to scholars, the apocalyptic meaning is Jesus Christ presenting himself as a divine and sacred being who would complete the final act of salvation for God's people. According to Enoch, he was carried to the second heaven, where he saw darkness greater than what was on earth. In the darkness were held prisoners who were angels under guard, waiting for God's judgment to be passed on them. They were weeping in agony. When he questioned their identity, they were considered fallen angels who rebelled against God in favor of their prince and were bound with other rebels in the fifth heaven. To put it simply, in Enoch's second book account, the evil watchers were not to be unpunished and were sentenced to measureless torment. There are still deliberations about the author of the Book of Enoch, and it has not been fully transcribed. There is no doubt about the source or contents of the next book, but the Vatican has purposely decided to shut it down. The Testament of Solomon. Solomon is regarded as the wisest man to have ever walked the face of the earth, and his tales have been told for generations. However, the history books intentionally withhold the story of the king's interactions with demons. As written in the Book of Samuel, Solomon questions the child and learns about the location of a demon named Orneus. This demon had stolen money from a construction worker to build the temple and then swallowed the hand of a man's son to drain his power. After finding the demon's location, as written in the Testament of Solomon, the king prayed to the Lord for help. Then God sent the angel Michael to deliver a ring to Solomon. The ring was to bind demons. Upon receiving the ring, Solomon gave it to the boy whose father was captured and instructed the boy to capture the demon in the ring and return it. Fortunately, the boy captured the demon and returned the ring to King Solomon. With the demon stuck in the ring, Solomon began questioning it and asking about its origin. Then the demon mentioned the zodiac and claimed he had lost his home after the archangel Uriel defeated it. This ancient book was devoted to the demon's interrogations. Orneus showed Solomon demons, identified them, and proposed how to stop them. Usually, this entails invoking a powerful name, such as Jesus or an angel. Orneus even helped capture Beelzebub, the prince of devils, and imprisoned him using the ring. Solomon interrogated him about the existence of female demons, and the manuscripts revealed that Beelzebub told him about Onoskelis, a beautiful woman with mule-like legs. Solomon asked about her background and presence before giving her the command to spin rope into ropes. Solomon questioned Beelzebul further, and the demon revealed that he influenced the race of those imprisoned in Tartarus. He also revealed that he can be stopped by numerous names, including Eloi Dorai, who made him tremble and vanish. Solomon tasked this demon with carving marble for the temple. Solomon also questioned Lix Tetrax, the wind demon, forcing it to lift the temple's stones. The king then asked the 7 stars of heaven: deception, strife, fate, distress, error, might, and the worst. While most of their acts were obvious, error pretended to be King Solomon and claimed to lead the people astray. He revealed that he had misled the people by forcing them to take the lives of their brothers. This references Solomon's brother, Adonijah, being executed. Solomon instructed them to dig the temple's foundation. The king confronted Scepter, a demon who had become a massive dog. This demon believed he deceived men who paid close attention to his star, leading them to stupidity. Solomon obtained an emerald for the temple with the assistance of this monster. It is also written that Solomon challenged the so-called winged demon, a demon who occasionally copulated with lovely girls through their buttocks and participated in filthy actions at night. An angel in the second heaven named Bazazath, a name found exclusively in the pseudoepigrapha, also opposed Solomon and was forced to chisel marble used to construct the temple. The Testament of Solomon also talked about how he was able to interrogate Anepsigos, a demon. This female demon goes by several names and can be summoned in various forms, including Kronos. The angel Nathaniel can stop her, but the temple cannot contain her. When Solomon asks the angel Nathaniel a question, the angel says he must use God's seal. This angel informs Solomon that until the Son of God appears and is stretched out on the cross, his kingdom will be divided and the temple destroyed. Solomon confronts Kunapagos, a demon disguised as a seahorse with a fish in the back and a horse in front. He can morph into a man and cause seasickness. You must perform a sophisticated ceremony using bowls and hemp ropes to destroy this creature. The devil was imprisoned in the temple after Solomon sealed him with his ring. According to Solomon's story in the Bible, the demon Ornias tells Solomon that demons can fly to heaven and listen in on God's thoughts. However, without a resting place, they lose energy and crash into Earth-like lightning strikes, burning plains and urban centers. Some people see them as falling stars. The angels bringing their Lord's new directives descend into the sky, while the devils among the jinn listen in. They are followed by shooting stars or burning fires as they try to listen in from higher up in the sky. Occasionally, they capture anything. These jinns are the go-to people for fortune tellers, who manipulate the facts to match their stories. Because of the truth revealed above, people believe everything the fortune teller says. According to any tribal tradition, some bright stars in the night sky represent men who left their heavenly lodges every night at sunset and journeyed throughout the sky. Native American societies honored these evening stars as guardians of plants and fields. If these guarding stars fail to fulfill their tasks, they will be blasted toward Earth and eventually destroyed. This explains why meteors, often known as falling stars, are seen in the night sky. It's worth noting that the Bible, also known as the Book of Heaven, uses symbolic language to deliver a similar message. Angels are sometimes known as stars. Some of God's angels revolted against him. Their leader, Lucifer, the morning star, was also hurled down from heaven to earth and reborn as the devil, or Satan. These fallen angels are now demonic spirits, seeking to separate us from our Creator's kind care and strength.